Thanks again, everyone, for being here today for the Wildcats at Work virtual meetup. Today's career cluster is education and social service. We've got 4 fabulous alums here joining us to talk about a little bit about their experiences and their time at the university. And so why don't we start off with each one of our alumni panel members to do an introduction of themselves and a little bit about their experience. And I'll go ahead and kind of pick one. And why don't, Jessie, I have you lead off.
Great. All right. Well, hello, everyone. My name is Jessie Bustamante. I graduated from the U of A in 2006 from the College of Humanities with a degree in Spanish literature. When I was first, let's see, but gosh, 15 years out of college now. I don't know what's happening. Life is flying. I've been in retail. I have gone through real estate development. I've been in so many different job sites. So right now I've landed in the nonprofit industry. I'm working in organizations serving individuals who have special needs. You can see my sidekick, my dog over here. And our organization serves individuals who have disabilities, special needs, starting at birth all the way through death. But actually our largest program is our K-12 education school. And that is for individuals who their home districts are unable to serve due to the severity of their needs. So I kind of fell in this space, but I enjoy serving people however I can, and being in the education space, especially right now in the world we live in, is so important. And so I'm really grateful to be here and learn from all of you and share about my experience. So thanks for having me.
Great, thank you. Now, why don't I move around my squares to Brian.
Hello, everybody. So my name is Brian Hibbs. I'm an associate professor of education at Dalton State College in Northwest Georgia. So I graduated from the U of A in 2014 with my doctorate in second language acquisition and teaching. And that's really allowed me to do kind of a number of different things, to not only sort of be professor and then teach languages as part of my graduate programs, which has really been important. But something interesting too, that having the opportunity to learn languages, is that I've had also the opportunity to do a lot of traveling abroad and studying abroad, but also teaching English abroad. I taught English in Paris for a year and taught English in Spain for a year. And so I think that's another avenue sometimes that students don't necessarily think about, but can be really exciting and interesting, teaching English abroad. So thanks for having me on the panel.
Great, thanks, Brian. And now I'll move up to Ryan.
Hi, everybody. Again, thanks for letting me be here. I graduated from the U of A back in 2011 from Eller, where I studied entrepreneurship and accounting. I was involved in the AK Psi business fraternity. Obviously, I'm not in the business world now, so I'm one of those that learned something in school, and then my life went a few different directions. I got to, after college, I traveled pretty extensively. I worked for Apple for a bit. I worked as a project manager in a landscape construction firm. But then teaching was kind of always my calling. I went back to school, to that school up here in Tempe that we don't need to talk about, and I got a master's in secondary education. And I've been a teacher ever since 2014. I taught at Corona del Sol High School in Tempe for 6 years, taught mostly government, AP economics, and some really cool things. I am currently pursuing a second master's in educational leadership because I would like to be a principal and administrator here in the very near future. I changed schools recently. I'm at a very different school than the one that I was at before, so that I can gain more diverse experiences. And I am just so happy to, anything education, I'm going to jump on board. So happy to offer whatever insights and anything that we can.
And last but not least, hi, Rob.
Everybody, I'm Rob Henkman, and I'm just like Ryan. I'm at work right now. I'm watching through my window here what's coming up the sidewalk, and hopefully the do not disturb sign will be followed here. But I've been, ever since I graduated in 2001 with an elementary ed bachelor's, and went right into the teaching force, teaching fourth grade for 7 years in the Catalina Foothills School District. And after my 7th year, I started working on my actually about my 3rd year of teaching, I started working on my educational leadership degrees and principal certificates, and got those, and have been an assistant principal in the Amphitheater School District for 4 years at an elementary school that was fairly large, and also then at a K-8 school of 13 to 1,400 kids, which it was really important to see the scope and scale of a school that large and how organizations work at that scale. And so I have then since been the principal here at Canyon View Elementary this is now my 9th year, and haven't worked a day in my life, even though I've worked a lot of hours, but it really hasn't been work when you're really doing something that you love. And so when Lacey called and emailed me and said, you want to help out? Absolutely. Because I think there's a lot of knowledge that we all can share and learn from each other as well, and pass it along to, I believe you had said it was Elizabeth and Kathleen who have joined us in this call. So happy to be here.
Thanks everyone for joining us today. My name is Lacey John, and I am the Director of Alumni Career and Professional Development. So we are partnering on this program and knowing how beneficial it is to make these connections with alumni, especially for students who are looking for that next step and what that might look like. So excited for our discussion today. But before we jump in, I would love to get to know the 3 individuals that are joining us.
Hi, I am my name is Elizabeth, and I am a graduating senior. I am graduating a half a semester early from East Asian Studies. As you can see live in the background is McClellan Center because I am in between classes. For me in this career fair, I am hurtling towards graduation, approaching being in the real world. My goals personally are to teach English abroad. I'm here to see what are some other options to consider, or things that I haven't seen before. For me, I have accepted the call to teaching. I'm all in. So it's great seeing all of you, and I look forward to the rest of this Zoom meeting.
Let's maybe discuss what were your intentions with your degree program when you went into college, and then how your career shifted from there, and what were some of the people or experiences that helped guide you to the world of education and social service. So Brian, do you want to kick that off, and then we can go from there?
Sure. So as far as teaching, I was one of those, I don't know, quote unquote weirdos, I guess you might say, that I knew in first grade I want to be a teacher. So that path was clearly defined. What I was going to teach, though, that evolved kind of over time. And so when I graduated high school, I planned to be a high school French and Spanish teacher because I've had several years, 3 or 4 years of Spanish and 3 years of French in high school. So I thought that's what I want to do. And I had that kind of plan, and I was in the secondary education program, and it was at West Virginia University. And then after my first year of undergrad, I'm like, college is cool. I want to get a PhD and teach college. But I stick with the secondary program, and then got the degree and got certified and the whole process, and then started my master's kind of after that. So as far as that career, in many ways, the career direction was kind of relatively linear as far as that goes. But something that did come a bit out of left field is the position that I have now, which is where I teach courses in ESOL. So it's preparing elementary education teacher candidates to work with English learners. So although I do have the background in language acquisition and language learning, specifically, I never really did much other than the study abroad opportunities to teach English. And so when this opportunity came, I took advantage of it, and luckily the dean accepted my application. And it's really been very kind of enlightening because I've learned a lot about English that I didn't know before, but really has really built my knowledge and kind of added a lot to kind of my previous knowledge of experiences that I came with.
Jessie, do you want to share your story?
Sure. So mine is pretty unique. So right now, my role is a chief advancement officer, which means I'm essentially a really glorified fundraiser, and I do marketing for our school program and our nonprofit as a whole, because we are not a public elementary or any kind of public school. So we're essentially a private school serving only individuals who have disabilities. So with this, kind of about 10 years ago, my career took a turn where I was doing real estate development. I was in the retail sector, and I realized this is not for me. I want to serve people. I intentionally went to school to learn Spanish and Portuguese. I wanted to know other languages. I didn't know what I wanted to do when I graduated. I wanted to make money because my dad handed me my phone bill and I didn't even know how to pay it. So I needed to make money when I graduated. And that was my motive. I got to figure this out. So it took me a few years to kind of take some jobs that really didn't make me happy. They didn't spark joy, but I still took them. And then when I found myself in the nonprofit sector, the social sector, that's when I knew, like, this is for me. I want to help. And I want to help people who literally don't have a voice for themselves. So kind of fast forward to where I am now. So I'm fundraising, I'm doing marketing for a school, because we serve individuals who have disabilities. And our goal is that parents never have to pay for education. So therefore, if these parents are seeking out other resources, my job is to make sure that I fundraise. For example, last year, $750,000, so that every student can get full tuition without a penny coming out of their pocket. So I'm on the other end, I'm on the administration side, and I'm here making sure that students who have special needs can get the services that they need. 90% of our students are even nonverbal. So essentially, I'm out there advocating for their needs, working with their teachers, working with their paraprofessionals to figure out what they need so they can be successful. I know that a majority of the teachers that I talk to, how they got into this world, they fell into it. A lot of them knew they wanted to get into a career with children. They knew they wanted to get into teaching. But a lot of them took a job, a substitute teacher, took a paraprofessional to figure out this is what they want to do. And now fast forward, the principals that we have are past special ed teachers that have been there 20, 30 years, never knew they wanted to do this. Some of them went back for their teaching certificates. So obviously I'm on the different end, but what I can say is that you may not know what you want to do now, or even Elizabeth, I know you're applying to this program. If you don't get into it right now, you can still get into the education field. You can still get into the world. You can still get experience. And although you may not get your dream job on the first run, there's always next year or the year after. It took me about probably 10 years to figure out what I actually want to do. And now that I'm in the education sector, mixed with fundraising, which is what I really enjoy, for me, I've kind of found my secret sauce.
You know, I look at Kathleen, Elizabeth, and Melanie, and it's great that you're taking advantage of these opportunities that exist to help figure the next steps in life out. As I was mentioning before we started this, I wish I had this opportunity when I was in my freshman and sophomore years, because I came to the University of Arizona undecided, and it really did take the entire 2 years, my first 2 years, to figure out what direction I wanted to go, because I was going to do whatever it took to not go into education. And here I am as a principal of the school, and you're like, wait, what? How's that possible? And it's like, well, everybody in my family, I mean, everybody is an educator, all the way down to like uncles and cousins. And so it's something I really, I knew. I grew up in that environment. I knew it really, really, really well. After school, having to walk across the street from my elementary school to stay in my dad's art room until it was time to go, and then swim practice, and you're just around it all the time. And so I really tried to stay away from it. And I found myself kind of floundering around going, what do I want to do? And taking interest surveys and things like that at Old Main to figure out what was it. And it was all right in front of me. I mean, I knew I could do it. I knew it was there, but it was actually teaching swim camp during the summer in between practices at the U of A. And we were teaching disadvantaged students how to swim. And I had a pool full of 50 to 60 kids. And it was just me running the show. And we were doing everything the way it was supposed to be done. And I kind of just had that aha moment going, okay, well, I guess I can say I got classroom management down pretty well. And I know the content, I can do it pretty well. And so that kind of sealed the deal. And the writing was always on the wall. I just didn't want to read it. And I dove into it then my junior year, and really have just enjoyed every minute of it. And so getting into then the administrative world, I knew after my first couple of years of teaching, I wanted to be a principal of an elementary school. And so went to NAU to get my secondary certificates and degrees, and got all that taken care of, and then just dove headfirst into the world of administration. And it's a lot. I mean, it's a lot, no doubt about it, but teaching's a lot too. And all the people on the screen, their jobs, it just takes a lot of commitment. And I really love what was said about not necessarily getting your dream job in the first year. That's life. You're not supposed to. You're supposed to keep climbing and keep just exploring new things. And it's not that you want to be the CEO. It's paying attention to all of the opportunities that present themselves in front of you, and then learning a lot about those things that you really care about. And as Jessie was saying about, real estate was her jam, and then realized, wait a minute, there's this is, here's another interest that just came across that she really wanted to explore, and look where she is now. And so that's kind of my journey. And we're still on it, because you throw in family and other responsibilities in there, and it's the dream. We just keep on living it.
Perfect. Yes, I love that comment. And focusing on what's right in front of you, doing the best you can with what you have, while always having that goal and looking and paying attention to other opportunities as well. Perfect. Ryan, do you want to kind of close this question out? And it sounds like you have a pretty interesting career story of how your goals have shifted from when you were in college to where you are now.
Yeah, and I just got to say, selfishly, I'm very happy to have partaken in this, because I feel almost like I get to be a participant as well as a panelist, because Rob is sitting in a position that I would really like to be in a couple of years. I'm 2 months away from finishing my educational leadership degree, and I'll be applying for admin jobs here in the spring. So I love, kind of seeing people that have gone through that path that I really desire. So yeah, like I said in sort of my intro there, my career goals and career path has meandered and twisted and turned, and went to U of A. Actually, even before I graduated from Eller, I started as pre-med and pre-business. Then I took chemistry, and they said, you got a lab from 7 a.m. to 11 a.m. every Wednesday. And I didn't do so well with that. So I said, okay, just business. And really what kind of deterred me from wanting to pursue that corporate, aggressive, kind of money motivated route that you tend to pursue out of Eller was really like that meat market of the job fairs. And gosh, Elizabeth, I commend you, because that's a tough gig, right? Putting yourself out there all the time, dressing up in your very best. And I kind of said, I'm going to take a step back and really figure things out. That's when I traveled. So after I graduated, kind of a cool story. Very stereotypical post-college grad, but I bought a one-way ticket to Europe by myself and just traveled. I think I was gone about 3 months and went to 12 different countries, met friends that I'm still very close with today, got to, such a stereotype, but find myself, whatever that means when you're 21 years old. The thing that really kind of got me totally thinking about education was when I had an opportunity to work at Apple. Very quickly, I recognized that, or my team recognized that I had a skill in teaching the workshops. And if you've ever been to an Apple store on a busy day, you may have noticed the workshop where there's somebody in their ridiculous blue shirt holding up an iPad and teaching grandma how to use it. That was my job. And I was really good at it. In fact, I remember one specific example of me holding up my iPad and saying, okay, press on this button. This will take you to the internet. And a 93-year-old woman, God bless her, raises her hand and goes, the internet? I've heard of that. What is that? And I sat there stunned, how do you explain the internet to someone that has no conception of what this is? And I got satisfaction in trying to do that. And every day when I got a chance to teach, I said, this is it, man. Working with customers is cool. But when I get to teach and interact with the public and see them, see that light bulb go off, I get such a high from that. So I said, I want to be a teacher. I wasn't a math guy. I wasn't a science guy. Okay, social studies, history, I guess I can kind of wing it. So I got a master's, taught for 6 years at one school. Much like Rob, kind of felt a higher calling. I saw a lot of teachers who I felt weren't doing their job in the way that I think that students owe. I saw a lot of administrators making not student-centered decisions. So I said, instead of just reacting to the stuff, I want to be leading that charge, right? So that's where I've gone, where I'm going. Who knows if I'm on this panel a few years from now, if I'll be down the same path. So I think that that's a really good lesson to just know yourself first and foremost, but be open to kind of those changes in life that are inevitably going to be thrown your way. So yeah, that's how I got here.
I have another question just based off of the introductions here. Looking at career advice, right? Entry points into this industry. Where does that happen? For many of Elizabeth, Kathleen, and Melanie, they're getting ready to graduate. So where should they be looking? What kind of career advice do you give them as they enter this job search process?
We just need phenomenal people in this industry. So I would say just really put yourselves out there, kind of just be fearless in a sense, and And Elizabeth, I know I keep calling on you, but I know like you're like, I really want to get into this program. If by chance you don't, I'm sure you will. But if by chance you decide, I'm not sure I want to do this next year, or maybe I take a different term, like just put yourself out there. And when you're interviewing and getting to know these different schools or programs, make sure that you are interviewing them just like they are to you. Kind of learn about them. What is their culture like? What's important to them? What kind of resources am I going to get as a potential teacher? What does that look like? What's the support staff? So really making sure that you're digging in so it's a good fit for you, because it sounds like all three of you are phenomenal, and I'm sure all of us would hire you on the spot today. But I also want to make sure that you find the right spot so that you stay in this field, because it is a tough field to be in, and you have incredible individuals with their eyes on you all day, every day. And I know that burnout is real and it's exhausting, but the ones who stick around are the ones that truly love it and truly made sure this was the right fit for them, because every school, every district feels a little bit different. So I would just say that people are going to want to hire you tomorrow. Make sure that you find the right fit that brings you joy and that you think is a great fit for what you want to do. But we need amazing people in this field. And I'm sure you three would probably fit the bill for a lot of people that would snatch you up tomorrow. So it's up to you to make sure that you find that right fit so you can stay there for a long time.
So I love, Jessie, what you said there, because every school district is a little bit different, a lot bit different, I really should say. I worked at my first part of my career, I worked in a district that was middle to upper middle class. Demographically, it was like overall majority white, very few students of color. Parent involvement super, super high. Lots of AP honors classes, right? When you think of like a prototypical high school district, that's the one that I worked in previously. Now I'm at one that has, every school has its challenges, right? But now I'm at one that has far more challenges, and where the teacher burnout it's real. In fact, over the last week, without like scaring you away from this profession too much, but last week, man, I'm at a school where we had on average 6 huge fights a day. We had 3 lockdowns. We had a student threaten to bring a gun to campus, so half the students didn't show up, and the week was capped off by the principal being fired. It was a hell of a week, let me just say. But for me, someone that came to this place to really, really learn and to find what is my voice in education, it's been so incredibly rewarding, right? So you're going to find places where teachers, coworkers, administrators, some of them are going to share your values and some of them aren't, but it's really about surrounding yourself with those high-level individuals that you can learn from, and even really being able to find those lessons and those little nuggets in those challenging times. Because I can tell you, I thought I was a good teacher. It's because I was working in a school where my skills weren't really challenged. Now I know I'm a good teacher because I'm somewhere where those skills are constantly being pushed. I'm having to extend myself to really build those strong connections with my students, with my coworkers, with my administration, and really just finding like I said, those nuggets in every single situation. Because this job in this state, it's tough. I was just teaching my students this today when we were debating. I said, always back up your opinions with facts. So I did a quick little Google just so that I knew exactly. 19% turnover in this state, 19%. That's a massive number, right? And what are there? Something like, now this is one I'm pulling out of, 5,000 or so open teaching positions. If somebody knows that stat, you can probably say it better. So there's a lot of opportunity, right? It's about making yourself as happy as you can be, because you're going to get that job, but it's about finding the right job. And we've said it like 5 times, but Jessie, I think you had the best advice of the day so far. And it might not be that first one. It could be that more power to you, right? So really being open and honest with yourself about your wants and your needs and your desires. And then, I have other things, but I'll save that till the end for our little send off, because I've got some other advice that I'll throw out there.
Perfect. Keep it coming, Ryan. Yeah, no, I love what you even mentioned there about, when you're in the job search process, it is looking at your needs, where are your areas that you want to grow, right? Being that lifelong learner, but instead of taking classes, right, you're taking on jobs and opportunities, and you're using those opportunities to fine tune skills or strengthen, areas of your skill set that might not be as strong. That's a really good point to make. Rob, do you want to add anything?
Real quick before Rob jumps in, I also want to make a point that has been mentioned before, and this, might not be the first job, but what that means is you have to take a job, right? That's the thing that I don't think sometimes students understand is the point of that message is take a job. That's where you have to begin. That's what they mean by it might not be your first.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that, I'll look at it a little bit broader lens, so I know, Melanie, you had mentioned that you're majoring in fashion and minoring in communication. And, from an administrative standpoint, when we interview people all year, every year. And as all of our organizations, one of our most primary responsibilities and critical responsibilities is to hire the right people. And one of the things is that we're looking for passion. We're looking for at the educational level, student-centered. I mean, you can tell somebody who is student-centered versus adult-centered within 5 minutes. And I can tell you, those are really short interviews when we find adult-centered interviews. In fact, we'll skip over all the way to the last page and say, wow, we are done real quick, great job, and we're moving on. And that's what we're looking for, are people who are going to put from that service mindset and put students and the clients at first and put it that front. Also, you are having experiences right now, and I think that's important for you to recognize, and that you bring to the interviews and the job searches, is that you are experiencing things right now that the people who are on the other side of that table, they want to hear about it, and they want to know what you're doing when you ran into something that was a challenge. What did you do to be a problem solver? What type of a mindset do you have when it comes to taking on new experiences or being open to the possibility for new experiences and change? Those are things that I think are really strong selling points and unique selling points for the people who are really interviewing for the positions. And 100% agree with what was said earlier. You got to go all in, and that's the only way of doing it. And there are plenty of opportunities in the educational field right now, and we are looking for those right people.
Yeah, and I would say not only for the sort of like the higher education track, but kind of in general, I would one thing I was thinking of that I think is important is start to see where you can start to get experience, like teaching experience, but in different venues. So, like, for example, when I remember, well, I always want to be a teacher, but I remember when I was in French 3 my senior year in high school, we had a small group. There was like 7 or 8 of us, and we would go to a local elementary school in 4th grade, East Dale, and we would teach them French. And I remember that was like, well, this is really cool. Or I would remember my senior year, I was tutoring a Spanish 1 student, and thought, well, that's actually kind of really cool. So, really, I would say look for different kinds of experiences in teaching or volunteering, working with kids, and really try to get as wide a variety of experiences as you can, and just kind of see what kind of really resonates with you. I know, like here at Dalton State in the School of Education, the teacher candidates have a lot of opportunities to teach, not only in like their placement classrooms and their blocks, but we do a lot of community work. So in the summer, we do what are called power lunches. So where it's every Friday from in June and July, the teacher candidates that want to work in the power lunches. So we go into different sort of more impoverished or more lower income parts of the community. And so we bring books, and the teacher, usually they're more like science-based lessons, but we do read aloud. The teacher candidates do read alouds. They have experiments, like we had one where it was like popsicle sticks and a rubber band, and the students would shoot the rubber band and then measure how far it went, things like that. And then they would have like choice cards, backpacks with extra activities and materials they would take home and bring back the next time. And every year I hear teacher candidates say, they knew they wanted to be a teacher, but that solidified it for them. They're really getting that hands-on experience. Or I think one of you said you were interested in being an ESL teacher abroad, see if you can work with a population with English language learners, or sit in on a classroom that has English language learners or something like that, and learn what is that ESL world, what is that like? So I think just trying to get as wide a variety of experiences in teaching, working with kids, and these are grade levels, different or somebody, I think Rob, you mentioned you worked like in the summer camp, like a swim camp, something like that. Just whatever you can do to get that kind of teaching experience working with kids and really see the gamut of what's out there and then see kind of what resonates more with you.
Yeah, this is great. And, just pulling out different themes from each of your answers, right? Getting comfortable with knowing what you want and being exposed to different opportunities and different ways of teaching and connecting with the future generations, whether it's through coaching or any other facet. But, I think if we're taking anything away from this conversation, it's get active, right? Get involved and get your hands dirty in the work, and then navigate from there. Perfect. Go ahead, Ryan.
Yeah, I just want to add something just popped in. So we keep saying, right, find those nuggets, find those teaching experiences, 100%. But also with that, I think comes being open to the idea that the reality of that career, this career might not line up with your expectations right now. And it might not be exactly what you want. And that is okay, right? So it's about being so honest with yourself. I tell my students this every day. You got to fully know yourself until you can really find that niche. So right now, this is the path, right? And pursue the hell out of it. But once you get into the realities of this job, be open to the idea that saying, this isn't right for me. And there's nothing wrong with that. I think a lot of teachers, those ones that just show up and just, it's head down, it's here's the worksheet, here's nothing interactive. They're showing up and cashing a paycheck. That's not who we want in this field. And those are the teachers that have said, like, it's not really for me, but what else am I going to do? So really don't pigeonhole yourself into something that is not bringing you the joy that maybe you thought it would. Nobody's going to judge you for that.
Yeah. Go ahead, Brian.
Yeah, and I think it's a really good point. I think to kind of build on that too, I was thinking that you should always have, the way I've kind of think about it is you should have like one eye focused on your current situation, like your current job, but one eye looking towards the future and seeing, even if you like your job and kind of where you're at, if you see yourself maybe doing that and, for 20, 30 years, that's fine. But I mean, always, kind of think higher the level than where you are now, and think about, well, what am I, even if that, like if you're thinking administration or, just whatever, just try to get, a variety of experiences. How are you building your resume? How are you building your knowledge and expertise base, to shoot for something to maybe, or maybe like, the opportunity of a lifetime will come in your lap, but you have to kind of be that, you have to be, what are you doing to prepare yourself for that? Or kind of like what Ryan says, how are you, if you're in job A and that works for a while, and then maybe you get a new principal and then the mission changes and it doesn't align with where you're at, what are you doing to prepare yourself to be I think you have to be somewhat flexible and adapt, in making kind of career changes. I think we've kind of said that, but, I think that's important too, one eye on the current job and what you're doing or, pursuing your degree, but also have one eye looking towards the future and shooting higher and, doing, and what are you doing to build yourself for a higher level career if that comes about, or if you need to make a career change.
Go ahead, Jessie.
Okay, I love what Brian just said. So I have been asked quite a few times, like, I'm very happy career-wise where I am right now, but it took a long time to finally figure this out. So what I will say to you all is you may have kind of like your short-term goals of this is what I want to do, this is what I'm good at. It doesn't mean you're stuck there forever. Just like Ryan and Brian were saying. Ryan and Brian, there you go. Just like they were saying, like, it's really good to know that next year I want to get into education. Great. Have a goal. But just know that just because you're in that, let's say for a year or 2 years, you try, you're not stuck. So what I often find, just kind of what Justin was saying earlier too, is make sure that you have your eyes focused for when you graduating this year, I guess, or the school year this year, whatever it may be. Know what you're trying to get into for your job, because the minute school ends, you need to find a job. And just know that it may not be the perfect fit. You may not love it, but you know what? It's going to give you some great experience to figure out, yes, I love this, or no, I don't. I need to make a pivot change. But I think the ones who are most successful, like you three, have identified this is kind of what I want to go into next year. I want to give it a try, and you're not stuck. But you're doing the right thing by learning and trying to figure this out, because you will need a job. If you're just like me and your parents cut you off the minute you graduate, I needed a job. And I might have hated it at first, and I hated it the year I was in it. However, it took me to realize I hate this. I'm never going to look for this again. I want to serve people in some way. How do I get there? So just keep that in mind too, that you don't have to have everything figured out. You don't need a strategic plan in life of what am I going to do right now. Focus on, just like what everyone said, what's going to excite you to do next year. And just like you're doing, figure that out so that next year you have a really great job in place and you're going to figure out if this is what you want to do or if this is something you don't want to do.
Yeah.
I always say this, is that there's what you're learning right now and at the university, and then there's what you're going to learn when you actually get into the workforce. And sometimes they're similar, and oftentimes they're polar opposites. And the reality is, will slap you right across the face of the profession or the organization that you're working with. And just kind of echoing what everybody's saying is that then you'll find out this is something I do not like about it, and you have the opportunity to do something about it. But that's the exciting part, is that knowing that what you're learning in class might not always be exactly how it's going to play out in the, when you're in the classroom. So enjoy that.
What makes a teacher? Some of it's already been answered, like passion for one of them that's already been answered, but perhaps maybe if you could elaborate more on that. Teachers aren't born, they're made, and they're taught, and there's a lot of training that goes into it, and skill and experience, and a ton of mistake making. That's the best part about it, and I can tell you, Ryan's probably, I don't know how many mistakes you make today in your instruction. 5. Okay. And it's 4:45, and I probably have made 40 mistakes today. And that's the best part about it, is that it's just, and it's okay. And it's okay to make mistakes, because that's how we're getting better. And the organizations that you will want to work for have that philosophy that you are able to make mistakes. And when you go back to your question, it's an essential question of what makes a teacher. And I would say that being willing to make mistakes and maintaining, putting students first. I think that's the first thing. And if you're open to learn, and you're open to being collaborative with the people around you and learning from the people around you, Ryan said that one of the best things was learning from the people around him. And that's, we collect a lot of data from our teachers, and that is the number one thing that keeps teachers in our district. Because retention is a big deal for us, and wanting to keep and retain our teachers. Collaboration and connections with their colleagues are the number one things, and that's how you really can foster and create dynamic teams. And there's no secret recipe, but it's a combination of a lot of things.
So I'll speak with my different kind of purview. So in the special education world, I find that my teachers are not only teaching students, but they're also leading a team. So in our program, our individuals have severe disabilities. So it's one teacher, it is 4 to 5 paraprofessionals, and it is about 8 to 10 students. So not only are our teachers teaching a class, but they are managing a team of paraprofessionals who essentially want to be the teacher one day. And so it's these leadership, it's these business skills, it's just these skills that you learn all throughout your life that people need to bring with them. You're not just there to teach a class, you are leading an entire group of people. You are leading these students who are counting on you, for their parents are counting on you to make sure they are set in life. Like, there's a lot of different facets that go into this. So I see when the teachers come in and they're like, I just want to work with children, and that's all they're focused on, when they don't realize there's a lot more. You're working with the parents, you're working with the paraprofessionals. For us, everyone has an IEP. They're working on completely different goals. So it just takes a lot of different, in my opinion, business skills and some leadership skills that I know all college graduates know, but not everyone thinks of that when they go into teaching. So at our school specifically, we focus a lot on professional development. Every other Wednesday is professional development, and a lot of it's around leadership. It's not even how to teach. It's not how to master an IEP goal. It's how to lead and how to do that well for your peers, for your students, and for everyone.
I think kind of building, I think it was something Rob that sort of said earlier about like for the job interviews of like who goes to the reject pile very quickly, and that it was kind of something that resonated with me too. It's people that I think being a teacher is an essential part of being a teacher is it's a bit of a cliche, but I think it's really important being that quote unquote lifelong learner. I think we kind of mentioned that was mentioned kind of before. So, knowing that, because sometimes I feel like I see it in that our teacher candidates here, and I think it happens kind of a lot that you have students that once they graduate and they get their like teaching certificate, they think, okay, now I know all I need to know to be a teacher. And I would say that's not where the learning ends. That's where it's barely beginning. You're constantly needing to learn and be flexible and be adaptable and, learn, things might have, like, I know when I was teaching Spanish here at Dalton State, because I was assistant professor of Spanish for 2 years before I moved to the School of Ed, that one semester I had a student that was blind. It's like, okay, for the students in my class, what do I do now? Okay, let's, so I sort of educate myself, and then I work with the supplemental instruction, all of that, and we kind of got it worked out. But it was really kind of educational for me. But I think it's being the kind of that lifelong learner, but also being willing to be flexible, being adaptable, but also I think somebody mentioned it too. I think really that student centered, where it's not where the spotlight is not on you. It's really kind of putting it on the students. That's where the focus should be, and making sure that what you're doing is, you're trying to do everything you can to make sure that the students learn. And it's not like about you and like lecturing and trying to show off and like, I know all this knowledge. It's really about, we actually talked about it today. I was in Atlanta for a meeting. It's called PAGE, a Professional Association of Georgia Educators. And we were talking about a little bit about this called like customization, but how are you going to make sure that the lessons you're teaching are relevant, for the students, that you're connecting with them and their background experiences, and, making sure that they're doing stuff that's relevant and authentic for them. And so you have to be open to do those kind of things.
Ryan, did you want to cap off that question?
Yeah, so I will again echo as loudly as I can. Flexibility is so key. I sometimes say that we're jazz musicians. You got to improvise sometimes. Rarely will things work out exactly as you plan. So you got to be open to that. But in terms of those more like tangible skills that I think make a good teacher, you have to be a good public speaker. You have to be able to effectively communicate with a room, right? You have to be a good active listener. You have to be a body language expert. You have to be well organized and have good self-discipline. You have to be incredibly self-reflective. You have to be willing to kind of like be honest with yourself. There's a lot of teachers that I think lie to themselves every day about the success or non-success of their teaching. So you have to be willing to be honest and make changes when appropriate. I think those are like the most tangible, like hard skills that I think make a good teacher. But for me, I root every single thing that I do every day through love. Right? And I think that's a word that doesn't get thrown around very often in public education. But I think that you have to have love. You have to have love for your students. You have to have love for their families and where they've come from. You have to have love for society, right? Because what you're doing is preparing people to go into society and make it better, hopefully better, right? Hopefully you're teaching them the right way. So I think that when you root anything that you do through that lens, it makes every day that much easier. So those are like those fluffy emotional skills, right? But really those other more tangible, hard skills, like those are the things that you're going to be drawing on every day. And especially, I think one more thing that just popped into my head as I'm looking through this Zoom chat, there has to be a high level of technological competency these days to be an educator in the 21st century. You got to be comfortable with all manners of technology. Because that is changing so rapidly. By the time you folks join the workforce, it could be completely different than it is today. So yeah, I think that's what I got right now.
Yeah, I mean, just to kind of summarize, I was taking notes here, but being vulnerable, making mistakes, being okay with making those mistakes, learning other skill sets, understanding that your role is constantly evolving, and what makes a great teacher is being able to apply those other principles, being that lifelong learner and having that passion, like Ryan just talked about. Great question, Elizabeth. Well, I guess we have some time here. Are there any kind of final thoughts that you would give for Kathleen, Elizabeth, and others who will watch this video concerning your jobs and your industry?
I wanted to hear what everyone else had to say first, then I was going to get mine ready. I will just say that, just kind of summarizing what I've said, just know that when you graduate, you probably need to find a job, and you may not get a slam dunk on the first time, and that's okay. This is your time to get out there. And I know that you're kind of like, okay, my learning is done, my college stuff is done. No, you're going to start learning now more than ever, topics and things that you never even knew you didn't even know. So I would just say, just get ready to experience life, but be open to what's to come, and just see what interests you. And if it doesn't, you're not stuck. So just know that the world is your oyster. There's so many opportunities. I'm still sitting here 15 years outside of college. I don't know what I want to do when I grow up yet. I still don't want to know. I'll probably still have 2 more careers in my lifetime, or at least I hope. So just have fun with whatever it is, but feel confident that, hey, you're going to learn something, you're going to take some things away, and you may replicate that job, you may not. And it's totally okay.
Elizabeth, did you have a comment on what Jessie just said?
Yeah, just to comment on everything so far. I think it's very encouraging to hear from a group of teachers who are really passionate about what they do. Because one of the things that discouraged me from even considering teaching as an option for a very long time was, as a student, particularly growing up as an Arizona student, I'm always used to hearing my teachers venting. It is an encouragement to hear about both the occupational hazards, but also the rewards of being a teacher. And I think and having the advice to not just that these hazards are a reality of teaching, but something that can be navigated around. I think that's good to hear. Yeah,
I so love, we appreciate that. I'm going to speak for the group because I know you all appreciate that, right? It means a lot. Right. We're very passionate. And I think that there's some bad apples that give teachers a bad name, especially in this state, to play stereotypes. And I'm sorry that you've had those negative experiences. But you've seen how to not behave in front of your students, right? You know that mentality that you're going to need to take into the classroom and inspire that next generation of students. So I applaud you for that, Elizabeth. My big piece of advice is something that took me a couple years, though, to figure out. And I think it helps. I love that phrase that you used, occupational hazards. It helps us navigate through those occupational hazards, and that's setting good, healthy boundaries. I think that as teachers, we love to martyr ourselves. We love to complain about, oh, I brought home all this grading, and oh, I don't have a social life. And that's crap, man. Set those healthy boundaries. Be okay saying no every now and then. You don't need to take the weight of these difficult days home with you every day. It's about finding those good coping skills to sort of, take a deep breath at the end of the day, leave things here, knowing stuff's going to be here for you when you get back, maintaining those good, healthy relationships with your family, with your friends, taking good care of yourself health-wise. I think that my first few years, I was not healthy. I was stressed. I was not getting enough sleep. I was staying up late grading. I was eating like crap because that's I guess the word of the day for me. But really, that is, if I can summarize it, that is the biggest change that I've made over my 7-year career, is being able to say no, setting healthy boundaries, and knowing that does not make you a bad teacher. In fact, it makes you a far more valuable teacher, in my opinion.
Well, that's a bit of a hard act to follow, but I guess I can try. I just kind of some of the things that, like I said, so being, getting a wide range, just a wide range of experiences, and just because you never know actually when those, this little experience you have here, this little skill you get over here, how that might actually be the key thing that gets you in the door. I know, like I said, when I was doing my undergrad, I got my, so I double majored. I bachelor's degree in foreign languages and then a bachelor of science in secondary education. Even though I knew a freshman year, I my plan was to teach college, but I thought, hey, I might change my mind. And so that allowed me that flexibility. But also, professors, you need to be kind of good teachers. Never really knowing, 25 years later, I'm going to be applying for a position in a school of education where I think that was, of course, having the background in second language acquisition helped, but where I could actually certify and say, okay, I have this background in secondary education. Who knew that that was actually going to come into play, So, just getting that wide variety of experiences and because you never know when they're coming to play. But then also kind of like what as I mentioned earlier, get as much experience teaching, tutoring, working with kids in different capacities, so you can get that range that'll build your resume as well. But then, like I said, it'll kind of it'll help you kind of start to see, well, this kind of resonates with me, or this maybe this direction that I might be interested in initially pursuing, and then being flexible if eventually you say that doesn't really work, or I want to change direction. Getting those wide varieties of experiences is what's going to allow you that flexibility if you need to.
Yeah, what great advice. Just showing up and being willing to learn, right? Rob, you want to pull it all home for us?
I'll keep it really simple. Do what you love and pursue it to the end. And that you'll be happy. And if you're happy, you'll be making an impact on the people that you're serving.
Excellent. Well, this panel has been fantastic. It reminds me of what my wonderful coach and mentor said, show up, pay attention. And I think that's what you all have done today. And we appreciate the panelists coming, sharing these experiences. And we look forward to having you all back, and also appreciate all the advice that you've given us. So thank you, everyone. And we look forward to seeing you again.